Alrighty, guys, welcome to the first episode of Watchpoint ANZ, the new Overwatch podcast now being run by Snowball Esports. I'm being joined by the wonderful Sarah Jane.
Hello.
She ran for community lead, sadly lost. Unfortunate.
Thanks.
I'm also being joined by Roro, who has a 0% land win rate, and
Okay, okay.
Akraken, who finally lost his first season of Contenders. How are we going, people?
We are fantastic.
Those were the right introductions, yeah.
That was pretty spot on.
Yeah. Anyways, it's been a long off season. IEM Sydney was in May, which is quite a while ago. Not only then, it was like May 4 or something. So it's been a while. We've had the Pacific Showdown since then, which we would have loved to spoke about with Geordie if he didn't sleep in. Alas, he's not here. But there's been a lot of changes. Blank Esports doesn't exist anymore. It's now Warriors Esports. And Roro plays for Warriors now. We've got a Kraken and the Sydney Drop Bears, lost CKM and Bertlog. But instead of me telling you all the changes, I'll probably just throw it over to them to tell you what's happened in the off season. So, Roro, first off with you, what do you think it's like working with Warriors over Blank, and what's it like partnering with a New Zealand-based sports organisation?
I don't know. I think it's pretty exciting for the scene in general. Having a traditional boarding team, partner up, with an esports team, especially in Overwatch Contenders. But I think, I haven't seen what the differences are in this short amount of time between working with the Warriors and working with Blank. So at the moment, there's no real difference to me. But only time will tell what changes.
Yeah, and well, will you guys be in like a gaming house arrangement like you were with Blank, or is there some sort of boot camp arrangement? You're playing from home and just traveling if you need to do a boot camp. What's the arrangement in that regard?
Yeah, so at the moment we're just playing from home, and then there should be like a boot camp type setup towards the end of the season. Nothing's like confirmed yet, but that's the plan at the moment.
Yeah. So obviously, possibly towards the end of the season, then I guess when you got like Order and SDB in the final 2 weeks or something, and then you got Land straight afterwards.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's supposed to be a long boot camp. I'm hoping so. Yeah, it should be in the last couple of weeks of regular season.
Yeah. And what do you think of the new roster? Obviously, you picked up Jungle. You picked up Huss as well. I'd argue
Huge.
those are two upgrades. I think they're absolutely huge. But what do you think of this new roster compared to last season's roster? Because it would have been disappointing to not like make the grand final.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the roster at the moment. Everyone's really strong in game, like really mechanically good. But I also love that our new additions, they're also really, really opinionated and really not opinionated. Have a lot of strong opinions on how to play the game. We're always talking about the meta, different ways to play. I feel like there's a constant conversation going on between everyone, and it feels really good.
Yeah. And over to you, Dario. SDB had a lot of changes off in the off season.
Yep.
You've lost CKM and Bertlog. How much of a hole do you reckon that's left in the team? Just before anything else about who you've picked up.
Well, obviously, Bert has been my partner for a year now in terms of support role, and Felix was like a really important part of the team. So they're missed, but I think the replacements that we have are very good and are working really hard to sort of step into the shoes that they've left. And I think we're going to be very competitive next season.
Yeah, and obviously, you weren't able to go to the Pacific Showdown, lost your first season of Contenders.
Yep.
Did that really hurt you, like, as a player, being able to, like, be so successful season after season, and then the one season where it actually matters to fall short?
I mean, well, loss is part of life. So probably, and it wasn't my first LAN loss. I mean, last time was against South Korea, which is pretty.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it was kind of expected. But I understand that if anything, loss motivates you to be better, and that's what everyone in Australia is trying to do for most, is be better players, be better teammates, and even though losing hurts, losing the win, it teaches us a lot. So I didn't take it as bad as perhaps some other people would.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, one question I have to ask about the Mavs roster. Not the Mavs roster. I'm wearing a Mavs jersey. Why am I talking about this? About the SCB roster. Who the hell is Felins? Please tell me more
Yeah,
about this
who
player.
is
Like,
Felins?
You've obviously got Dreamer from like
Uh,
Xavier, I think, in Pacific, but like I have no idea who Felins is.
yeah, he used to play for a Korean Open team called Monofrog, I believe. And he used to be known as Eclipse. So Flint is a very recent name change.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it his first season of Contenders then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then as with the thing, when you bring in Koreans to an Australian team, and we asked this of Blank last season when they brought in Modern and Damon, but have you had any issues with communication with the likes of Dreamer and Felins?
Well, obviously, it can complicate things a bit, but Dreamer's English is pretty good, and of course, it'll improve as the season goes on. So, even though there is some issues, or there can be some issues regarding certain pronunciations and stuff, as long as you're clear with how you explain things and are very visual in how you explain things, people know how to play the game.
Mm.
Uh,
I feel like you'd have like keywords for like different things and just, simplify things.
Yeah, most of the complications comes in like with VOD review and stuff, because when it comes to the game, it's pretty much screaming targets.
Yeah, exactly.
People know how to play. So.
Alright. Well, those are the two major changes, I think. Well, two major teams that had major changes. For the rest of the teams, I guess I'll leave it over to Sarah Jane, who compiled a nice little document for us to read over, or at least me at least. So if
Okay.
you got that open, you can go through it if you want.
Okay. So, where to begin? So, order, no changes. We still got our same lineup.
Well, hang on. They lost Smash.
Oh,
Biggest change of all.
pain.
That is very,
That's
very
crippling.
sad.
That
That
is
I
is
can't believe
crippling.
they're leaving controlling scrims into the hands of like someone like Adam. Could you imagine Adam trying to book scrims or something?
No.
You've got a handle
Actually,
on
anyone except Yuki trying to book scrims on that team.
Okay, so, already talked about drop bears. Mavs, so we've got Davey over to Mavs now, but now playing aim support. He is no longer playing main tank, changing roles once again for season 2. Exhaust is now in the Mavs lineup. We've got Razorfish and Penny, who will be main tank, and Slipgip, who were both
GGCs in
on
chat.
New Era, and Soggy. So, New Era Open Division team moving over to the Mavs lineup, which will be very interesting.
Have you guys had the chance to scrim the Mavs lineup yet? Because I'm quite interested to see. Like on paper, they don't expect to be much than like a 7th, I think. But is it like that?
We haven't been scoring maps.
Haven't scrimmed them.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I think that could tell a story, but
We don't have a story.
yeah.
We don't know.
Most teams, if we're looking, look for overseas scrims anyway. So it's not anything directly against Mavs, but we don't know how good they are. So, when it comes to scrim priority, most teams would, pick contenders Pacific or contenders China teams instead. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the name value of the team, though, it's a lot of players who newer viewers of contenders wouldn't really know. So, do you think that the roster strength is possibly there based off like OCQ performances, possibly, or
Exerce is good
experiences
aim.
in the past? Yeah,
Exerce is he's pretty good at Widow. I don't know much about the other players on the team very much. Obviously, Davey coming to a new role, which is difficult for anyone. So, but he has shown like role adaptations before, so I'll be
it's like
surprised.
his 5th role or something, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. Where's
Yeah.
the meme? Where's the meme?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
played main tank and off tank for sure. I know. So
Yeah, he played off tank and main support for Kanga, like in one season. So
yeah,
and
so
then
we'll-
played main tank last season.
Yeah, main tank for Mindfreak.
Oh, Mind Freak. That wasn't last season. Was it last season?
Yeah,
or was
last
it
season.
3? Okay, yeah.
Last season. Yeah.
I guess
God.
time will tell, really.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Atletico. So last roster they had Evie, Atar, Excel 4, and now they've got Quad J, Paso, Design, and Zetzel, who have come from Kraken Black. They've also picked up Wuvo, and yeah, I think that's their changes. So again, coming from Open Division.
I think like the biggest thing to say about the Ath roster as well is that they like playing the May Goats Clockwork Vendetta kind of comps.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. Very interesting, and a lot of May, I've heard.
Yeah.
Enjoying the May.
Yeah. But I'll throw this over to like Roro and Akraken as well. Like, obviously, it's been Goats, Somber Goats, whatever for like the last basically year, because I think that was when Goats was first played over in NA. Now we're seeing the likes of like Doombra, Bunker, Clockwork Vendetta comps coming up. So do you think the meta's going to be shifting this season? What don't you want to see in the meta, if anything?
I think Blizzard wants Goats out. So it's a matter of time before it actually leaves, because they will make that happen. You know, minuscule change by minuscule change if that's what they want. But eventually, I think Goats will leave, and then it'll probably go back to Dive, honestly, because Dive beats Bunker, in most variations, even now. So, I think as long as you can beat any other comp with Goats, which is, you know, you can beat Bunker with Goats, you can beat Doom Goats with Goats, you can beat Somber Goats with Goats. As long as you can beat any other comp with Goats and it's okay into it, I think Goats will be meta.
Yeah.
What about you, Roro? Obviously, Blank didn't run a lot of Goats.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we did land, but yeah, I think definitely just Goats will still be meta until it's possible that the meta changes by playoffs, depending on what new patches come in for that. But I think at the moment it's just Goats, and if you're running anything else, I feel like it's just because you're not good at Goats. Is that like as when we've been running DPS comps, we haven't been that good at Goats like the entire time until I think like the end of last season we actually got a lot better at Goats despite our performance at LAN. I think yeah, once you get good at Goats, you realize that there's not a lot of reason to run much else.
So, and we spoke about this a little bit before we went live as well, but what are your thoughts on Bunker? I've been tuning into a lot of like Bus's stream recently. I was in your stream last night, Roro. Everyone seems to be playing Bunker and Q. Why is that? And do you think it will have a place this season, even with Goats around?
I think people do like running Bunker on like defense on like 2CP and things like that. But I quite enjoy Bunker because I get to play Genji. So I mean, it's I mean, I don't. If people want to pull out the Bunker, I don't mind. But yeah, I don't think it's that great. Obviously, it's good to people who don't know how to play against it. But for me, I'm quite comfortable playing into Bunker because I can pull out the Genji.
I think ladder is pretty much given up on Goats. Like people will I still think it's the best comp, but people just straight up refuse to play Goats. So if you go into Korean ladder, a lot of the time now it's just like 4 or 5 DPS players. Per literally nearly every game that I play is like 4 DPS or 5 DPS. Because people just don't want to play Goats and Bunker is kind of boring. So what you're seeing ranked a lot now is just basically Bunker or DPS with a ball. But I still think
do you think that's just a symptom of people being fed up of like the constant like you have to play this one comp, it is so strong on this particular patch and anything else is basically an int? And do you think that's something like role lock or hero bans or something that everyone's just been throwing around for the last 9 months?
Yeah, I'm pretty
work?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure people are so tired, like exhausted with Goats and the meta and how it's been shaping is that they've come to a point where they're like, I'd rather have 4 or 5 DPS players on my team than touch another tank again in my life. So that's what people have resorted to, from what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, also, I don't want to be playing like Brig in a Goats comp in competitive into like a DPS comp, for example, when my team doesn't know how to play against it. Like if I was in a scrim with my team, we'd be beating that comp. But since we're in competitive, like we're not beating it because we don't know how to play Goats into their specific comp. So I'd rather just pick DPS, do whatever.
Yeah.
US West is a little bit different because there's so many AL players on that side, and it tends to be like the more meta-defining region of all of them. So the US West is like people still play Goats over there in bunker and proper comps instead of just DPS. But
So what would you say is then your favorite server to play on? If every server has these like different metas, then obviously if you could have it your way, you'd be playing on OCE with like minimal ping. But in terms of like server metas, what's the best server to play on?
for me,
US
it's US West. It's best practice because people still play Goats.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you ever
Keep
go
going on.
onto the Korean servers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't because
You
I'm in
don't?
the South Island of New Zealand,
So
so I get a lot of ping.
It's
Yeah,
worse. Okay. Okay.
May as well go to South America at that point.
no.
No.
I get the same ping to both, so I play Korea sometimes, but it's hard with the language gap. And
Okay, yeah.
Oh.
I hear they run a lot
Alright.
of DPS as well, so it's probably not that much difference from here if everyone's just, playing what they want.
Yep.
Yep.
Alrighty. Are we
More.
moving on? Rosters?
Yeah, more of the rosters.
More of the
think we're up to
rosters.
Warriors.
We're up to Warriors. So they've now got us. So that's a huge pickup for them, obviously. And Jungle, who was formerly on Ground Zero. And they were able to get Modern back. So Modern is back to save matchmaking once again, we hope. With Q now, yes. And then they've still got Roro, Tongue, and Noz.
I think Noz was really good last season.
Oh,
Like insanely good.
yeah.
He's kind of Noz champ if you ask me.
Noz champ.
So when is he getting his affiliate and like making that a Twitch email so I can sub?
You'll have to ask him. I've got no idea.
God damn it.
Okay. Legacy. No changes since trials. Lab, I think they've picked up since last season.
Yep.
Formerly played on Kraken. And then Mind Freak, a lot of changes actually. So we've now got Buzz, who was from Ground Zero. We've got Kiki now and August 9th. So August hasn't played Contenders since Mastermind Season 2 last year. So this will be interesting roster, very interesting roster.
that team should be pretty good.
I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
They've got a lot of really mechanic. Like Spoko's really good at. Spoko is like some of the best Lucio movement in the scene, I think. And then August 9th's like a really good ranked player, and Bus is like grinds ranked a lot. They've got a lot of really good mechanical ranked type players, so they just got to bring that together, and I think they'll be pretty competitive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, have you guys at all?
Have we shown that?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have.
same. This I don't know. This
Would you
seemed
call
pretty
them
good.
top 4? Would you call them top 4?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Boys making land.
We're gonna land.
But there's I think that the decider match, like it's them versus Ground Zero, right? In the first week.
Yeah.
I feel like that'll be a really really good match to see, and that's sort of. I feel like that decides who's going to be top 4, in my opinion. That match.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends how the rest of the matches go and how the seeding ends up, but it'd be good.
Yeah. Last but not least, we got Ground Zero. So they've pretty much got half of the Mavs old roster. They've picked up Nami, Minnie, and Gus. they've picked up Nanda, who was also from New Era, the Open Division team, and Money, who was formerly on Atletico last year. And the only same player we've got is Dubois.
I think Elsie's still on as a sub as well, but
Oh,
I could
yeah.
be wrong.
No, you could be right.
I mean, I was a pretty outspoken critic of Ground Zero last season. I think it was just really disappointing after they made LAN in Season 3. And then this season they just did nothing. So I think the changes that they've made are really positive. I think Maz is really out there with some innovation. I won't call Choco a one-dimensional coach for now. But I think it's good for the Ground Zero roster. I think there are definitely some potential here.
No, definitely. So that's all the roster changes I have. Not sure if I missed anything.
I think that's pretty much all of them. What would you guys say is like possible LAN teams? Like, what would you say LAN looks like?
Top 3 then Mindfreak. I think there's a pretty big gap between top 4 and the rest. It's really pretty. It's the largest it's ever been, I think. But we'll see.
Like
Yeah, I agree.
a gap between like Warriors and Order and the rest, or Warriors Order? Where does the gap fall? Like specifically, what team?
The most clear one would be after top 4, which would be Mindfreak, I think. And then there'd be a large gap, and then obviously there's gaps between the top 4 teams in some regards, and we haven't been scoring order, so we don't know how much they've improved and not improved.
What do you think, Roro?
Yeah, I definitely think top 4. Well, the gap between maybe top 5, because I think Mindfreak and Ground Zero might be close. So I'm not sure. But yeah, there's definitely some large gaps in there. But
I think we're seeing a new generation of Australian players, because a lot of the old guard has been exported or left or quit or.
Yeah, a lot of new names. Yeah.
So we're gonna see, especially in the lower teams, a lot of really new players and maybe some new talent as the scene moves forward. But we'll see.
Yeah, very true. Yep. Cool.
There is another thing that I'd like to talk about. We've obviously spoken a bit about contenders, but the biggest news to also come from this week as well is that the World Cup committees have finally been announced. So if you haven't been following that, Australia's World Cup committee is RQT GM, Frogger, community lead. Congratulations, Frogger. And Gumba as coach. So 2 of the same 3 from last year. Can't remember the name of New Zealand's GM, but he's with Paper Plane Esports. I think it's Equinox. And then community lead is Fangetta, and coach is Noxious, coach for SDB. Obviously, fortunate to be joined by 1 Australian and 1 New Zealander, one of which has World Cup experience. How do you think World Cup's going to be shaping up this year, especially like internally in your own rosters? Like, who do you think are like 4 runners to like get spots? I'll start off with Roro in New Zealand because I think that would be a little bit easier to talk about. I think there's a lot of clear-cut names in that, and then you get to the tank line and it just kind of falls apart.
Well, here's where it gets interesting. I've put my hand up saying that I'll fill main tank. There's no other viable option, because it looks like I don't know what, because there's Ligabral and then there's Sham. I think I don't know how old Sham is, because isn't the World Cup
plus
18 plus? Yeah, and then Ligabral I think is not available. So I just said, oh yeah, I'll play main tank.
Okay.
So because there's color hex signed. I don't know what the specifics of the situation, but I know that the color hex signed as 2 really good DPS players, and I was like, okay. And if we got an off tank player that could say learn ball, for example, then play a lot of triple DPS. Who knows? I've got no idea what the actual plan is. This is my own fantasy, growing up in my head. But yeah.
Just put Kelsey on, bring Cantus back, put Kelsey on Farah, get Cantus to pocket him, and then just put sign on Widow and fucking win everything.
Yep.
Easy
There's
clap.
Ransom.
What about Australia then? It's a lot more congested for you, Dario. Like, a lot of players like had have left that would have filled spots, but you're not sure if they're going to come back to trial because it's World Cup, and why not? It's a free ticket to BlizzCon because we're a top 10 nation.
Yeah. In terms of trials, last time was obviously very in depth. Like we trialed, the team trialed pretty much anyone who was asking for it, even people who weren't in teams, and we're just 4,100 players. So, I don't know the process. I haven't been talking to Drew or Gumber or anyone regarding how they're going to set that up, but I think it's going to be a lot. We're going to try to make it more refined, or that's what I'd expect, is more of a refined process. And there's going to be some roles are going to be extremely competitive, and then some roles I think will be washouts, which will probably be the tank roles. Obviously, Trill is an Al, so, and he won NA contender, so there's not really much. Like Quats is really good, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be very hard for him to beat that. And then Punk has NA experience, so I think those two roles are probably the most set. And then I think flex support and the DPS will be where the real competition is.
I guess it's like the Bertlog situation from last season, where like Bertlog was the region's best main support by a mile, but the fact that we had Custer and Al meant that Bertlog just like never had a shoe in.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now Bert's gone. But do you think there's a possibility the likes of like Bert or CKM, who have retired coming into this second season of contenders this year, come back for Overwatch World Cup?
No, there's no way. I think they're well and truly done with competing on that sort of level, and especially considering they're not part of a team anymore, and the main thing they didn't like about being in a team was investing all that time in scrims. Is I don't think they'll come back, but there's definitely some good names up there and a lot of potential.
If you guys were to make like hypothetical rosters for both nations, and I'll start with Dario first, what would you like to see Australia's roster be? What do you think would be the best roster that we could take to BlizzCon?
Probably Trill, Punk, Eat Up, Huss, and then me, and then Fluro, I think. But it would have to be, and then a DPS would be a bit of a struggle, I think, with the other DPS slot. Oh no, Yuki, of course. Yuki's pretty easy for me, and then I think you would pick up Huss as well. So that would make a roster.
Yeah. What about New Zealand, Roro? It's a bit.
Dream roster. All right. So Color Hexen signed on the DPS. Jungle Jazz, or just Jungle now. Jungle on the main support. Off tank would be, I don't know, between JCap and Plus. I don't know how old they both are, so I don't know, but I think they're both pretty decent.
Just turned 18 like
Right.
last year, so
it's possible that they might both be available, but I'm not sure. Me main tank, and and I think Cantus aim support. Like Cantus still plays, right? I think it's changed, but I think he still plays. He's been playing in open div and things like that.
Isn't Dalso ANZ as well?
No.
Really? I thought he was. Huh.
Nah, he's Australian.
I mean, if there's any other,
He sounds Kiwi. I don't know if you've spoken. Obviously you've spoken to him probably, but to me he sounds Kiwi.
no, he sounds Australian to me, but yeah.
Okay. I'll take that L then. Do you think, well, with New Zealand, obviously you don't have the flights over. will you guys be trying to find a way to make the trek over to BlizzCon?
Yeah, I think. I think people want to. Like everyone who has the opportunity would want to go, but it really depends on, how much would have to come out of my pocket.
Mm.
So yeah, I think people really would like to. I haven't spoken to everyone, but from my perspective, I'd like to go, but yeah, it just depends how much I'd have to pay, or whether there's a sponsorship or anything.
Do you think that's where something like, hopefully, possibly the Warriors could come chip in? Having a New Zealand team
That'd be
representing
good.
the country internationally.
I mean,
You
yeah,
know,
that'd be pretty cool, but I'm not gonna
no.
say that they would or wouldn't. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be something like that. Definitely would be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, and that's miles down the line. Player tryouts are happening until July 14. I think that's when they finish. At least that's the registered time for Phase 3. So I'd keep an eye on both. I think it's at NZOWWC on Twitter and at AUSOWWC on Twitter.
They'll probably can continue past that, because that would only be for top 12, right? Unless they've changed it from last year.
I think they said on Phase 3 on the website was like July, like mid-July or something is when it ends. And it's like a month period. It's quite short.
Okay.
And
That could be top. That could either be top 7 or it could be top 12. So there could still be trials going on past that.
Yeah. If
you want to decide who you want to take out of 2 options or whatever.
Yeah. But aside from obviously playing in Australia, like none of you guys went to the showdown, which is kind of unfortunate. You both had really good rosters last season. We just fell orders way. But do you think like these international opportunities are like, how good are they for the region? Everyone speaks like they're amazing, but quantifiably, how good are they?
It's kind of hard to. It's difficult to quantify. I think in terms of like, it's obviously more opportunity. I guess it really depends on whether you succeed or not. Because if you don't succeed, you're just reinforcing people's views that Australians and Australian teams suck, and that we can't compete. But if you do succeed, then you really surprise people. So, every international event that we have where we don't achieve, it's a negative, and then every that we do achieve is like an enormous positive. Right?
Yeah. What about you, Roro? Obviously, the only international event that you've played in is coming to Australia.
Yeah. I don't know the benefits. But yeah, I definitely agree with what Akraken said. With every international event that we go to and don't do well, it's just people are okay. AU still just this trash region type of thing. But
it's about changing perceptions as much as you can.
Yeah.
On individuals, like the main thing that we get out of this is other teams being more willing to give Australians trials, like on an individual level. If you have academies that are more likely to say, hey, we've got Trill came over and he shit on everyone, and Punk came over and he shit on everyone, and Colorx came over and he's shitting on everyone. It's they're more willing to look at Australians towards talent and be like, oh yeah, maybe we can give this guy a chance, and it's up to you to prove that. Yeah. So,
I mean, when you've got the likes of like Gumbo, Face and Made overseas as Australian coaches who would, when you're looking at coaches looking at Australia, that would be the 3 ones who would look at the region the most. That's where the opportunities lie, don't they? When you finally get noticed at like a showdown or a World Cup. And I mean, I guess that was the thing for you, because you were trialing quite heavily for Academy last season, weren't you, Dario?
Yeah, I had a few. Yeah, sometimes obviously you would want Gumbo and Face and Made to take notice of you and stuff, and that's where, because they'll know you and they'll be more likely to give you trials and stuff if those positions are available. But oftentimes positions on those teams, the teams that they head and the teams that they're involved with, aren't available. So it's more about changing other people's perceptions in the scene, and how you can go on from there.
Yep, that's fair.
Yep.
And I think just to round things off, it's just a short preview episode today, so thank you for coming out. Obviously there's still some more things to talk about with contenders at least. if you are not aware, there's new dates and times for everything. So games actually start tomorrow. For the first time, it's not pre-recorded. We won't have that little message in the top left.
Yay!
You can
Let's
like
go.
brag about it or whatever. But be sure to tune in from 2 p.m. AEST on Sundays and 7 p.m. AEST on Mondays to watch some live Australian Overwatch for once. Looking at the weeks, the first week's games have Order versus Sydney Drop Bears and Mavs versus Atletico on Sunday, and then Warriors versus Legacy and My Freak versus Ground Zero to round out the week. Obviously, grand final rematch for you straight up and Kraken. How are you feeling heading into that?
4-0 STB.
Oh wow,
Easy.
okay, that was
Easy.
Most likely that's not going to happen. We're going to
Yeah.
see how obviously Order's been together for way longer and they've had much more time to push on. And of course they've had the Pacific to fill the gap between the seasons, so they've been training ridiculously hard up until probably 2 weeks ago, which is when most of them took breaks. So they're going to be coming into this fairly rusty, which works in our favor, I think. Well, that's what I guess anyway. So
Yeah.
we're gonna see how that pans out. But they've had a shit ton more experience as a team, and they were better last meta. So yeah, I'm hopeful, but we're gonna see we're gonna see tomorrow exactly how we stack up.
and then obviously, Roro, you've got Legacy. I don't want to say it, but I think it is a relatively easy first game out for you guys.
There's literally no way that we lose this game.
Look, Roro, last time you said that on stream, you failed to make a lab.
I'm very confident in the 4-0. I'll say that.
Alright. And do you guys have obviously we've talked about Mind Freak versus Ground Zero earlier. Do you think that is the match to watch this week?
Yeah, I think so.
I
I think-
so.
I think Mind Freak will probably stop. Based off what? Because we scrim both teams. Just based off that, but we will see how the game turns out. How it pans, and the players are definitely more evenly matched.
Hmm.
So we'll see.
And then Zero's asking me to talk about Mel versus Atletico because that's seemingly the one game that I've skipped over. So, do you think this game kind of sets the pace for who will survive at the end of the season? I guess.
Sorry, what was the game? Atletico versus.
Mavs.
Mavs. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've heard of those two teams before. It's okay. But
Yeah.
I think we were all pretty clear on the fact that like, Mavs, not Mind Freak, Mavs, Ath, and Legacy are going to be like fighting for survival this season.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a dogfight between those three teams. So, yeah, it'll definitely be exciting. To see some of the more scrappy Overwatch and who can remain in the spots and stuff. I don't think they'll contest the top four or five teams, but between at least how things are right now. But as the season progresses, maybe some teams can build up a little bit more, put on more of a fight.
What do you think, Roro?
Yeah, I think depending on what the games are looking like in terms of when they when Atletico versus Legacy like in the season. I don't know when that's happening, but because if that's a lot later in the season, then they can definitely put in a lot more practice and show that they've improved over the season. But if the game is soon, then yeah, it could just be down to a coin flip type of thing. But I think regardless of that, I don't think they'll be able to contest the likes of Ground Zero and Mind Freak.
Yep.
So yeah, I still feel like it'll just be a battle between the bottom three. See who makes it. See who stays in.
And obviously the map pool's also changed up for this season. So new maps. So Control is Busan, Ilios, and Nepal. So Lijiang Tower is out. Assault is Paris, Anubis, and Volskaya. So that's Hanamura is out. And another map is out, I think. And Paris is obviously first time into the competitive map pool in contenders. Hybrid is Hollywood, Kings Row, and Nimbani. So Kings Row staying over, always seems to be in the map pool. Never really leaves. And
Just always there.
yeah. And then Escort is Dorado, Havana, and Rialto. Again, Havana's a new map. First time it's been into the competitive map pool.
I'm excited.
And there's also been a slight reordering if you are a spectator, and I guess a player as well, that Assault games now come second in the series, where they used to come third, and Hybrid games now come third, where they used to come second. Obviously, this doesn't mean a lot to like the players per much, but like, what do you think of the map pool? Are you looking forward to playing on Paris and Havana, or is this as bad as people have been saying on Twitter and like ranked?
I think Havana's a pretty good map. It's got a lot of dimensions to it. Third point's really open. Second point has a lot of doorways. There's a lot of maneuverability. I really like second point, and I think first point has a very grim choke at the start, and then it sort of evens out and is pretty good. I think I hate Paris. I think Paris is very.
Does
bad
anyone
map.
like Paris? I don't think so.
Maybe it's just a byproduct.
I mean, I don't like Paris.
Yeah. I think maybe it's just a byproduct of it being 2CP, but I also don't like it on 2CP maps. So, yeah, I'm not looking forward to playing on that map. But you got to do what you got to do as players. So.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of looking forward to playing Paris because some teams will likely run bunker, so I can whip out the Genji. But apart from that, yeah, not really a fan of that map. But I think I haven't played Havana like that much. I completely forgot that was actually in the map pool, to be honest. So I don't know if we've been screaming it much, but but yeah, no, it's a pretty cool map. I'm interested to, play it some more.
I think I'm excited to see the Genji on Paris, so let's hope for that.
Yeah.
7 weeks.
Or with the Dragon Blade.
Yeah. I mean, they got rid of Hanamura and Horizon, so most of the 2CP maps are the better ones. Which, people call it Jordation, but Volskaya is alright, and then Anubis is probably the best 2CP map.
I mean, I'll never forget that one game last season, Legacy versus Blank on Horizon. And I was at work and I saw the tweet, and it was Legacy's tweet saying that Horizon Lena Colony went to 8-7, and I just thought, I'm going to have to watch this, aren't I? Actually, the worst feeling. I don't like her. I like playing Horizon Lena Colony, don't like watching it. So.
Yeah, I get that.
Anyways, do you, as the players, have any final words? Looking forward to this season. Anyone to keep an eye out for on your own teams? After all, it's called Watchpoint. Who should we be watching?
Dream is pretty good.
Dream is pretty good.
Dream is really good.
Yeah, I've seen Dreamer in action. He's a decent main tank. Pops off.
Decent's perhaps putting it a bit mildly, but we'll see.
Oof, yeah.
What about Warriors?
I think you're gonna see the Noz champ pop off a bit more this season. I think he's gonna prove it, and he's gonna prove it at LAN as well. He had the same feeling as me. At my first LAN, we both lost, but I think we're both ready to prove what we've got at the next LAN. So I think Noz is gonna pop off.
Jungle's pretty good.
Yeah, jungle is also pretty.
Yeah,
but,
Jungle's
I hate Oliver, so.
Unlucky. Any final words? Look forward to this season. All good. No one? No?
May the best team win.
And we never see
And
Bunker.
Sydney Droppers. Hell yeah.
Yes, I cannot wait for Melbourne Mavericks Season 2 2019 Competitors Australia Champion. Haha. Anyways, thank you for everyone for tuning into our first episode of Watchpoint. we are looking at making these shows a lot more compact, asking players more questions and having more players on. Obviously, previously it's run over a lot. Funnily enough, it was also called overtime back then. But we're now out at a new time of 10:15 p.m. AST Tuesdays. So after your Tuesday scrim blocks, we'll be talking to your favorite players from that week and recapping the matches as well as looking forward into the next week. So if you have any feedback on how this went, anyone you want to see on the podcast come next Tuesday, let us know. We'll try and get them on. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Thanks
Thanks
everyone.
for watching Contenders.
Thank you for having
Thanks.
me.